you're looking for a new invoice financing solution for your recruitment business, I highly recommend Zodec. Zodec have a relationship-based, courteous approach and a professional approach to working with their clients. So whether you're a startup or an established business, they offer you a range of financial and back office support solutions that will suit your business and are specific to your requirements and your goals. Whether you're in the tech sector, education, recruitment, manufacturing, engineering, whatever sector you're in, they look after the majority of them. So get in touch with Zodec at zodec.com or on the link below.
Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma, the founder of RecTools.io. RecTools is the only whole-of-market directory of recruitment suppliers for your recruitment team, recruitment business, or your talent acquisition department. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a walk down memory lane, kind of unpicking a few bits, because my guest today actually has a very mirrored kind of story to sort of what I'm currently going through now, which, to be honest, if his trajectory is anything to go by, then I'm quite confident that I've got some good stuff to come. So Danny Steele from RecRuso, thank you for making the time to appear today on RecTalk.
Thanks for having me on.
So look, your RecRuso product, then, I mean, the obvious thing is, and that the kind of the buzz line is always going to be the same, right? Which is built by recruiters for recruiters, which a lot of people kind of throw out there. But you genuinely, had a very successful career within recruitment before you then went, all right, enough of that, I'm going to do this now. So tell us how that come about. Like, how do you go from being a temp recruiter in the industrial world to running your own business in a recruitment business, and then going, I'm done with that now, I'm going to do something else. Short of, I don't know, call it ADHD.
Yeah, well, it was definitely something that we tripped into. I was one half of Top Gear Recruitment, established in '99, and we actually bought a CRM off the shelf from a company in London in late '99, early 2000, and within 6 months, we got a notice saying that they're going into administration.
Lovely.
We had, I think they only had about 15 clients, and effectively they wrote to all their clients and asked them for 10 grand each for them to carry on. So we sort of had a chat, me and my business partner at the time had a chat about it and thought, what do we do here? We know we've invested, decent amount of money at the time.
I was going to say, what they were asking for from an investment perspective, how did that compare to what it cost you? Because obviously back then we weren't in the subscription model world, right?
No, it was
literally you would buy something off the shelf.
Client server application off the shelf. I think we'd spent 10 grand on it, which in 25 years ago was a hell of a lot of money. Still is.
Yeah. You've got your 4-bedroom house in Stockport, right?
Absolutely. But they're asking for another 10 grand, and the issue that we felt, at the time was, if we say yes to this, where's it going to end?
Yeah.
It effectively was blackmail.
Yeah.
Really. So we decided to decline the offer. Got really friendly with one of the developers that worked for that failed CRM business, and asked him to support us for what we thought at the time would be a few weeks, and then ended up being 25 years. So we effectively started designing our own database. At the time, it was the CRM provider had an Access database, and things were moving to SQL. So my business partner, Carlton, shout out to Carlton, he's retired now, decided that SQL was the right platform to develop on in terms of the database. And that's where it began, really. So, as I said, it was an accident.
Fine, yeah. So literally, you built the CRM as a solution to your business, right? So when you go, built by recruiters for recruiters, that nothing could be sort of further from the truth. So at what point do you then kind of go, hey, we could sell this and make money on this?
So it's probably sort of 2003, 2004. One of our subcontracted agencies, who was supplying us with drivers, asked us what we used. They use a competitor product. They asked us what we use, and we said, we developed our own. It's not for sale. And they asked if they could have a look at it. So, I showed them. They absolutely loved it. They loved the simplicity. They loved the fact that it was designed by recruiters for recruiters. As you say, a lot of people say that, but this genuinely was the case. I think at the heart of everything that we were doing was it had to be simple. Simplicity was key for us because a lot of the people that we employed in the recruitment agency were technophobes. They didn't.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. We're talking
technology.
a time where actually there was people who didn't even like typing, really.
Yeah. So it had to be easy to use, and we just hit the ground running with it. People seemed to love it. Our internal staff loved it. We showed it to this subcontractor agency, and they took. They decided to take it on after we worked out a pricing structure because we didn't have it, and that's where it all began, really.
Yeah, fair enough. So, but let's take it back a minute though, because you've got right. So we've paid 10 grand for the CRM. The CRM business has gone bust. They're asking us for another CRM, another 10 grand for them to continue. And you're like, well, that's a bit of a gamble. You couldn't make it work the first time. Who knows? But that 10 grand could have got you another off the shelf CRM, right? So what there's got to be something that made you go, we can do this better. Was it, do you know what I mean? Blind arrogance or like,
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? Like, very few people would go, nah, fuck it, I'll do it myself then.
It's a good question. I think we had the luxury of a developer that needed a job effectively or needed to have a project for a bit of time. And I think it was just, I was a young guy, 20, 22, probably 21, 22, had no sort of fear. But let's do something ourselves. We looked at some alternatives on the market, and we weren't blown away by what was out there. There was a lot of sort of perm heavy products, and all we did was temp.
That was the case for a long time. That's only recently changed, isn't it? That there's actually an introduction of these sort of temp specific or temp heavy CRMs.
Yeah.
Historically, they've always really been sort of suited to perm.
Yeah, I think perm is easier to develop. There's not so much going on.
It's a system.
There's not the continual weekly payroll and invoicing compliance. It's a lot simpler.
I suppose each temp business, depending on what vertical you're in, is different, right? You'll have some people that need to go out and supply, some people that can do, their week across multiple clients, and some that just can't. And so, having a CRM that can do all of that is going to be quite an ask, I suppose, especially back then.
It is. I mean, one of the I think the big things that we did was linked to external payroll and accounts providers early on. So Sage was the first payroll and account provider that we linked to, because at the time we outsourced our payroll to our accountants. It was becoming expensive because we were paying quite a few hundred people a week. So that was critical. Becoming a Sage developer gave us the credibility in the marketplace. Having that badge at the time, 20 years ago, was a big deal. Being invited into the head office in Newcastle and having to present and being on a panel with some really big players was something that I was very nervous at the time, but I really enjoyed and was hugely pivotal in where we got to, really.
First. Okay, so your first customer comes on board then by almost accident, right? Because they're like, well, what are you guys using? At what point do you then go, hold on a minute, we're onto something here? Or was that the moment where you're like, well, if one person's willing to buy it, then more will be?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I was probably quite naive in the early days, if I'm honest. Setting up a tech business is obviously completely different to setting up a recruitment business.
Of course.
Recruitment, you can make money pretty much from day one. In the tech space, you've got to spend hundreds of thousands before you have anything that's even remotely ready to put out into the market. I think it was very, very slow in the early days. I was still a 50% shareholder of the recruitment business, so there was a conflict. And as much as I tried to,
were you still working in recruitment? Were you still working on the recruitment business at the time?
No, I mean I was still involved, obviously, as a 50% shareholder, but I wasn't sort of making decisions at that point. Probably sort of mid noughties, sort of 2005, 2006.
Right.
But by association, certain people didn't want to deal with us.
Oh, I get it.
You
Yeah,
know, because as much as I said it wasn't a conflict, people would say, well, actually, you're still a shareholder. You might not have a day-to-day involved in the business, but am I going to give you my data?
Exactly right. That's the thing. Because look, what's the one thing that a recruitment agency is most proud of outside of the people they have working for them is the data that they hold.
Yeah.
That's the second most valuable thing. It's it is a multiplier in their valuation. So yeah, you're sitting there going like, oh no, I might own another recruitment business that competes with yours, but I'm not going to look at your data. Well, okay, that's a hard sort of objection to navigate when unless it's somebody who knows you and trusts you, right?
Yeah, and looking back now, I totally see it. I mean, it genuinely wasn't an issue. It never sort of compromised us. But only really when I sort of left recruitment did things start to fly. And I don't think that was a coincidence.
It's really funny how much that mirrors, mate. Because so I set up, because I used to say we set up. No, I set up RecTools. I had a recruitment business and I had a business partner who kind of just didn't get RecTools and never really did get it. So I was like, I feel there's a niche in the market. Let me just build this and see if they come. And they did. But it was extremely hard to kind of push users to come and use the site when they're like, well, hang on a minute. You're powered by or you're funded by a recruitment agency that you're involved in. And I'm a recruitment business and I don't want you seeing, I can, your AI playground looks great and it can really help me with Boolean searches, but I don't want you knowing what jobs I'm working on.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And it wasn't until we won the recruitment business was gone that actually all of a sudden things had kind of gone, hang on a minute, this is what this guy does.
Yeah.
The recruitment thing, he's not in that anymore.
It's a very similar story, isn't it? I mean, similarly for me, my business partner at the time didn't really sort of understand tech.
Mm-hmm.
And in fairness, I can understand, it was a drain at the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
When you develop a tech business, you have to put a lot of money in before you get anything out.
The money, the time, the energy, right before you, because especially if you're in that contractor recruitment world, you're used to the almost instant validation, right? I can start Monday on a 0, but by Friday I could be on £50 an hour, £60 an hour, and that's forecastable revenue that I can look at. Whereas a tech business, I can start my day on Monday, and then get to Friday, and I've got more problems, more issues, and more bugs to fix than what I started with this week.
Yeah. No, it's a big.
And people don't get that. Yeah. That's funny. Right. Okay. So then, the recruitment business comes to an end. And when was that?
2012.
2012. Right. Okay. So again, good big run. How long then after that did you then kind of be like, okay, I'm starting to see the change and the shift now? Was it almost instantaneously? Was it still take a bit of grind and graft?
Probably another 3 or 4 years after that, because I had a period out of recruitment and tech as part of when I sold the remains of the recruitment business. I went to work within sort of the payroll space for 3 years.
Okay.
Which wasn't really me, if I'm honest.
What was the CRM product doing at this time? Because obviously at this point you've still got paying customers and people that are using it, right?
Effectively, it was just ticking over and paying the bills and
sort of washing its face, basically.
Washing its face, and I think there was probably two or three support staff. People answering the phone, dealing with support, developing it to an extent. The main issue around that time was the fact that it was still client-server application and technology, VB6, Microsoft VB6, which had been stopped being supported at that time. So from sort of 2014 to 2016 was the production of the new SaaS-based platform, which effectively RecRuso now runs on.
Yeah.
And without that development, the business would have been dead.
Yeah, I get that.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, okay. So you almost needed to take that time away for you to have that time to develop the product. Because, otherwise, if you're in there, then you kind of, you're still a salesperson at heart, right? And so you want to get it out, Yeah. I know one of the biggest sort of challenges I always have with my old dev that sort of still helps out every now and then is I'll be like, can you just get it to MVP so I can get it out? Because I just want to get this out. And he'd just be like, oh, fuck, fuck's sake, like
Yeah.
you're going to get it out,
Yeah.
it's going to break, and then
Yeah.
you're going to come back to me and you're going to slam up the floor and go, look what second happened.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah, I was the same. I mean, it's frustrating, isn't it? You know, you as a salesperson, you sort of right side of the brain, developers left side of the brain, and the two never meet.
No.
You know, they should do somewhere in the middle. But I was probably a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. I mean, you know, I'd stamp my feet and say, I want this, I want that. I knew what the recruitment marketplace needed.
Yeah.
And trying to get that across to developers is difficult. And Carl, if you're listening, I thank you for all your patience over the years. Hope you enjoy your retirement now. I'm sure you don't miss it. Well earned. Yeah, well earned. But yeah, it was. I think the thing in recruitment and tech, tech as well in general, is that the pace of development is unbelievable. And effectively, if you stop developing, you're effectively going backwards because everyone else is going forward.
Yeah.
But even if you stop, you're not standing still.
No,
you are going backwards.
No, those days are gone. Yeah, absolutely. There was points where you would be able to kind of release a bit of software and it just be that, and that's what people run for a year, 2 years, 3 years before the next update's due. Whereas now it's like new patch, new update, new patch, new update.
The thing is, if you rest on your laurels, you get left behind. I mean, I mentioned before about Sage. I mean, we had many successful years with Sage as our sort of back end for payroll and accounts. But the payroll product continues to this day to be built on Access.
Mm-hmm.
And other providers in the marketplace are moving to SaaS-based payroll, more scalable, and it started to affect some of our large clients. One of our largest clients now pays over 5,000 people a week.
Right. Okay.
So it's a serious player in the recruitment space, and I think a huge company like Sage, can sort of fall foul of rest on the laurels a little bit because you saw Zero come in and take such a huge.
That's right. Yeah. They became the new Sage. Yeah.
So we did, obviously we're a tiny little business on the horizon compared to them, but it shows that if you don't develop and you don't continue to move forward, you effectively, go backwards.
Yeah. What do they call it? The Nokia effect, isn't it? Where you can be a market leader for however long, but all it takes is for you to just stop innovation and for everyone else around you to continue that.
BlackBerry. I remember
BlackBerry. Yeah,
when we first set the recruitment business up in '99, and everyone had a BlackBerry. I thought, how can this ever get better? This device is unbelievable. I can send emails from Mexico.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Yeah.
And then a few years later, the iPhone came along, and BlackBerry was a thing of the past.
Destroyed them, yeah. But yeah, I remember a press conference with Nokia executives. I was watching it, and it was like, we did nothing wrong. And I'm like, you still don't accept that you got, they're like, we did nothing wrong. We did everything right, and we still failed. And it's like, blimey, that level of kind of arrogance and lack of humility is what destroys things, right? And we've both been on the wrong side of that, right? Of where you do maybe rest on your laurels, or you trust the wrong person with an opportunity. Do you know what I mean? And then things go wrong, and then you're there to fucking have to wipe the arses and pick up the pieces. At that point, though, when your recruitment business shuts down, did you not? What stopped you from going? I could just start up another recruitment agency. That's what most do, right?
Yeah, I wanted to innovate. I wanted to be creative. I felt that as much as I love, I'm very passionate about the recruitment industry, but I love supplying into the industry now, like you do.
Yeah.
I became bored, to be honest. I became bored of doing the same thing day in, day out, the letdowns, the price war, the race to the bottom. And I wanted something. I wanted to develop something. I wanted to be creative, and I wanted something that was unique. And our product as it was then, Temp ID, now RecRuSo CRM. If somebody wants my product, they have to come to me for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's.
So tell me about that. What is it about your product that's different than to the hundreds of CRMs that are on RecTools?
I think there's a few, and I'll use some of our customer feedback. I think that's the best, the best way to do it. We're very cost effective. We don't we think we give really good value. A system designed by recruiters for recruiters, as we earlier talked about, is huge, because we're more Apple than Android, in terms of the simplicity. It's point and shoot. I want to create a worker. I want to create a booking. I want to create a timesheet. I want to create an invoice. It's not complicated. We don't put buttons in place for the sake of it. We try and make it quite easy. A lot of people, our customers, say, your training was amazing, but actually we probably didn't need it.
Yeah.
Now, I take that as a huge compliment, because if you can develop something that doesn't require training, like an iPhone, 3-year-olds pick up an iPhone and don't need to be taught. They just get on with it.
Yeah.
The simplicity of use is really important for us. The sectors that we provide.
Without the sort of almost giving away the functionality piece, right? Because that's where Apple have got it right. It does everything that an Android does. It just takes 3 clicks less.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's the same mentality. Because there's some really overly engineered CRMs out there where, to send a mail shot, it is, I won't name them, but, the one that we used to use, to send a mail shot of a candidate to a predefined list of clients, was no less than 8 clicks. And I just feel like that just seems too far away. Like, it's like walking through 8 doors to get to a bathroom. Like,
drag and drop functionality, be able to do things quickly, industrial, driving, healthcare, hospitality, fast moving temp recruiters, they need it to be quick. One of the things that we always come across with new clients, whether they're using existing CRM or using spreadsheets or even, sort of pen and paper still, is they haven't found something that is as quick as a manual process. So you would find clients taking bookings down from a client using pen and paper and then retrospectively putting it in the CRM. That's not how a CRM should work.
No.
You should receive the call from your client and you should be able to put those bookings or vacancies on live.
It should be as easy as using the pen and paper.
It should be.
Yeah, that's the key. Yeah.
And if there's been lots of times where we've developed a piece of the software, or a new feature, and we've chucked it away and thought there's too many clicks. We sort of live and die by how many clicks, and success for us is less clicks.
Yeah.
You hit it on the head there. If it takes you 8 or 9 clicks to send a mail shot out, then you failed.
Yeah, that's not right. Yeah, that shouldn't be. So for such an integral part of what you do as a recruiter. Yeah. Okay, fair. So the journey that you guys are on then, as a sort of out and out tech business, let's just talk briefly on the AI conversation, because obviously that's the buzzword everywhere at the minute. And in the market that you're in, I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the market that you serve, AI is probably the last thing on their mind, furthest thing from something they're interested in, and probably something that worries or scares them from the perspective of, well, what we do is very manual, is very kind of admin heavy, and could, in theory, be replicated by a digital worker bot or some sort of automation. So actually, keep your AI, don't fucking put it in here. Is that about right, or actually is there an appetite within that market now?
I think you're pretty much spot on. I mean, we have a new chatbot that effectively helps with self-registration and onboarding. It's relatively new, last sort of 6 to 9 months, and we've seen a big appetite from our clients. But there is a real win-win there, because ultimately onboarding candidates is expensive. The next bit of development that we're looking at now is the re-engagement, constantly sort of talking to the candidates over WhatsApp. That's delivering real value because it's saving a lot of time and therefore costs. AI generally, I think we want to be, I'm going to show my age now, but we want to be more VHS than Betamax. So what I mean by that is, we want to sort of come in, we let the big boy go out and spend all the money, do all the research. I think you're right, it is a buzzword, buzz phrase, but our clients aren't really sure what they want it for yet. I think it's very heavy in the perm world. We're a lot more heavy in the perm.
Yeah, I think your analogy there is like bang on, right? In that you got your VHS Betamax conversation, you had your CDs and mini disc conversation, Blu-ray and DVD conversation. It's always been that, hasn't it? It's sort of like this new emerging tech's happening.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is yet. We don't quite get it yet. You know, MP3 is the new thing. That's the new thing. That's the new thing. But I really like my Walkman, and it's like, at what point do I let it go?
It's got to be the right time, you know.
All it takes is that right product, the right use case.
Yeah.
Like Apple, I mean, like we sound like Apple fanboys. No, I'm absolutely not. But like, you know, Apple didn't sell you a 32 gigabyte MP3 player. They sold you 1,000 songs in your pocket. And that's what people bought.
Correct.
I want 1,000 fucking songs in my pocket.
Correct.
And so if you take that analogy into the AI space within the recruitment sector, these guys are panicked by the sound of, you know, reduce your workload and your time or your admin time and blah, 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 and we'll register candidates for you because you're giving them control. Whereas actually, if you sell the result of that, and what I don't know what that conversation needs to look like yet, but yeah, that might be, look, let's increase your candidate stickiness. You know, those candidates that are in your database, let's have them coming back to you again and again and again for their next assignment.
100%.
That's what you want.
I think a lot of people get sort of blindsided by AI. You know, for us, re-engagement of candidates, making sure that you're not spending thousands on job boards when the candidates are sat inside your CRM.
Right.
That is a great use. You know, creating multiple bookings. You know, the tasks that you continue to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
They're the things that you can automate. They're the things that you can, you know, shorten the process with AI.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in the fast moving temp space for us, there are, you know, some limited areas. I think, you know, ChatGPT and all this kind of stuff is great, but, you know, it's not really our world. It's not really our world, you know, and the same as the perm side. You've got to be careful that it's not too obvious that you're overusing AI for certain things. So you're absolutely right. It's all about outcomes, you know, and we want to, you know, we spend a lot of time doing the research, but before we sort of go crazy with the development, we sort of, you know, want to be.
I think you're doing, I think you're doing exactly the right way, which is just let those who've got the deeper pockets go and spend, explore, and start kind of mapping things out. And then when the time's right, we'll go, that's where we need to dig. Okay. And then, then the gold rush will come.
Absolutely right.
That's what we're going to do. And we'll see what they've built and try and build one that's better, more suited to our target audience. So it sounds like you guys have intentionally been quite kind of specific and niche and sort of narrowed into your customer base. Then what was that again? Was that just a kind of coincidental, okay, that's our background, so that's what we're going to service? Was that an active choice? Have you considered building a permanent version of your CRM? Like, you know, talk to us about the kind of the rationale behind it being a temp CRM.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because the perm app goes live next month.
Oh, weird that. But next month being August, right?
Next month being August.
So actually, by the time this goes out, it came out last month. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So it's our first stab at a perm app, and it's going to be more of an add-on than a perm app market leader. We know that, and our clients know that. There's a lot of appetite from some of our clients. Most of our clients are, you know, 70-80% temp, so perm is an add-on for them.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, right now, if there's perm recruiters out there, they wouldn't come to RecRuSo.
No,
they'd go to other providers. Hopefully that'll change in the future. In terms of the, it was a conscious decision originally to go down the temp route because that's what I know. You know, I'd never worked in the perm marketplace, and the recruitment agency was a decent size. You know, 8 offices, 20-odd million turnover, paying 2,500 people a week. So it's quite a big, you know, northern-based agency. And automation, efficiency, ease of use was they were all the things at the top of the list. You know, we did a little bit of perm, you know, when we could sort of get hold of it, but it wasn't a focus, and that's, you know, really why we didn't sort of focus on.
See, in my experience as well, temp agencies get so used to that weekly temp thing that when they do pick up a perm job, they still try and kind of push the temp route and sort of just pay the invoice over however many because I need my hourly rate to look good. So you know what I mean. So fair, okay. So everything's been quite kind of positive. Let's kind of let's be a bit more realistic for a minute then. What would you change? What could you, if you could go back, what are your regrets? What are the things that you kind of wish or that you've learned from, you know what I mean? Or wish you'd have done differently?
Well, there's a lot. I mean,
because I think that's important because there's a lot of people that sort of just like, LinkedIn is becoming more and more an Instagram window by the day, right? And there's so much around how look how great I am, look how great I am, look how great I am. And I think there's a lot of people that are now starting to get to that point where like, do you know what? Am I just fucking shit? Am I just
well, it's not reality, is it?
No,
it's not reality. Social media as a whole, people, I don't really.
And I'm conscious for this podcast. I don't want it to just be like how fucking great Danny is. It's like, great. But actually,
far from it.
Let's talk real talk.
There's a lot of mistakes have been made. I think social media as a whole, I use LinkedIn quite heavily because I get clients and referrals from it.
Our entire business is run on that, right?
Yeah. So, but I don't really use any other form of social media. I find it, I'm sort of maybe in between generations, I would say. My kids obviously, use it. My parents don't use it, and I'm sort of maybe in the middle. But it is becoming more and more of this sort of, trophy, world, and it's not reality.
Yeah.
People put business wins on there, but they don't put business losses on there. And I think it's the downsides that people maybe can relate to a bit more. And every business that that I know has had ups and downs, over the years, including us. I mean, if I talk about some of the downs and some of the mistakes, in the recruitment world, dealing with supermarkets who can effectively dictate your margin, they might as well have a seat at the table and be a shareholder because they have that much power. Spreading yourself too thin, maybe setting up multiple office locations with multiple overheads at a period of time around the credit crunch where margins were being reduced and you had to become more efficient. That was a mistake, especially when tech was on the rise and it never became easier to work from a central location. Specializing in a certain field, I think, gives you a competitive advantage because you become an expert. On the tech side of things, it was very easy to chase all recruitment businesses.
One size fits all.
But it's not the case, and you've got your large players out there who are dealing with your nationals, and you've got your tiny little players, and we're sort of in the middle. Listen, I was a young lad, getting into recruitment at 17. As I said to you earlier, I wanted to be a vet at 16. Look down the careers. Looked down the careers manual and saw I could earn a.
We had connections back then as well, so.
Yeah. But looking at the careers book and seeing that you could earn a decent wage doing a vet. But the 7 years at college and university sort of
that was the deal breaker.
Turned me off, And my dad ran his own business, and I was fortunate that my auntie actually got me into recruitment at 17. I was very raw, very green behind the ears, but I took to it like a duck to water, really. And probably similar to you, you don't leave school or college or uni wanting to be a recruitment because I don't even know what it was.
Well, you were in it your whole life. For me, I would say it was like my second life, right? So I did the whole uni route and everything else, and then my first proper job was in retail banking. And I was a savings, and at the time you were allowed to do investments as well. So savings and investments advisor, then got up to kind of savings and mortgage advisor, then went and worked for another smaller building society, but became a branch manager, and then was made redundant and walked into what was the old Michael Page in Coventry to register for work, thinking that they do finance. I'm in finance, let me go and have a chat. And about 20 minutes into the conversation was like, you're an idiot. Like, That is not what, and my mind's blown. I'm like, hang on a minute, hang on, explain this credit control thing again. You're telling me that there's businesses that pay staff to chase invoices that should have been paid anyway. Like, this is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then, after like about 3 hours of having a just shit chat with the guy, I walked out there with a job. And that was me going into recruitment.
You tripped into it
Like
I did.
And I was a lot more kind of mature and further in my working career. So I think that helped probably because I would argue with anybody that actually 6 months in, I was like, I'm going to start my own business. Like, I'm going to do this for myself. This is ridiculous. Why am I doing it for them when I could do it for me? But I do see it. Yeah, I was working with a lot of those who've been there since school leavers or college or university leavers, and I'm just like, Jesus, like, you don't know anything else about the world outside of this space. Now, that can be quite daunting. So again, it's sort of like, it's impressive that you've then gone, let me just try this tech thing, right? Because it wasn't the tech boom that we're in today, but even in the early 2000s, you had this absolute bubble of anybody and everybody wanting to open up some sort of computer-based business.
And the dot-com.
And the dot-com bubble and everything else. And you're sort of like, yeah, I want to fucking do that. With no rhyme or reason or sort of no real understanding on how to, and actually I'm setting up an entirely new business doing this, just to solve a problem that I've probably got to solve for just going and buying a product.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it again recently, it's gone under the radar a little bit, but I've got RecRuSo Finance as well now.
I saw this on the website recently. Actually, I was going to talk to you about that.
So we have, we've obviously got an active audience, a captive audience, a few hundred recruiters who are all, from new starts to sort of, mature, fairly mature recruitment companies. And I'm really passionate about people getting the right advice and the right deals right from the beginning, because I got tripped up a few times.
We'll kiss some frogs along the way, don't you?
Yeah. So having the right facility from the beginning is really important, all the way through to if we sort of say cradle to grave. I've done quite a few introductions recently for some of my clients who are buying other clients. At the end of their career.
So RecRuSo's finance arm is essentially an introductory or broking service that
brokerage,
takes you up to. Yeah, okay, very nice. Yeah,
and we use our leverage with our clients. We use our
which is again, it's phenomenal because it's actually an entirely new business. Which
well, having been on the other side of the common denominator here is recruitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you've tried to search your own tech, you've run your own recruitment business, you've tried to search your own finance, you understand, there are some not so good
there's some very, very good marketing teams out there, some really good salespeople out there.
Yeah.
And
substance,
unfortunately, sometimes they're selling some really shit products.
Yeah.
And you don't know that the product's shit until you've bought into that person or the marketing.
Or until you're on an 18-month contract.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And in a lot of cases, especially with the new starts that we deal with, it can be the difference between success and failure.
Yeah. No, I've seen it. I've seen it. You've had businesses that have had their margins withheld. And, and it's sort of like, in the terms, it says that we're able to do this for the following reasons. And you're like, come on. Like, you're going to close these, you're pushing these guys into bankruptcy. Don't care. That one invoice is outstanding, so therefore we withhold margin on everything.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of like, this just
strangles the business. Yeah. I think when people start out, and we're going to be doing a new website soon, and getting the message across. Software, payroll, and finance, all three go together, don't they? Because it's the three things that you need. Obviously, you're great people, you'd be able to, to have the sales, but those three things are fundamental.
It's your engine
to getting your recruitment business going.
And they all need to talk to each other, right? They all need to, absolutely. Interesting. Okay. So what's your plan for RecRuSo then? Because I mean, off camera we were talking about kind of, you were like, people have asked you about it being a lifestyle business and that kind of thing. And my take on it is always the same, which is so fucking what, right? So I run a lifestyle business that provides a great service and I'm happy with. Like, why do we need to have an exit strategy or an exit plan? So where's the kind of finish point for you to go, like, if I get to this point, I'm happy to kind of, sell out or, hello access group sort of something. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a discussion.
Yeah.
Or kind of, is this just a, keep it going until you convince one of your daughters to take it on?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're the right people to, but we'll wait and see. But I think it's a moving beast. I think we've had some really good growth over the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The COVID years we did well out of. There's a lot of people who set up their own recruitment business, wanted a very cost-effective, easy-to-use CRM. They work from home. We did well. Out of that period, things have slowed a little bit in the last sort of 12 months. But we want to keep bashing on. We're fairly unique, I think, in the fact that we give great customer service. I think our customers, would agree in a testament to that. And there's no immediate plans for exit. We want to keep growing, growing the customers, and then in 5 years' time, who knows?
Okay. Yeah. What about kind of sort of diversions for you then? Because you're obviously the kind of person that sort of sees something and sort of like, well, I can probably address that. I'm going to address that.
Yeah, well,
so is there anything else that's sort of tickling your fancy at the
moment? We started doing payroll for a handful of customers, and now we're fully fledged payroll bureau that sits inside RecRuso.
Excellent.
We started doing finance referrals, and then that became a business in its own right because I saw that as a real sort of value add.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I've helped in the last 2 or 3 years we've had testimonials from, had lots of thank yous, because it's really helped them navigate what can be a difficult,
difficult
place.
One bad move and
it can end your business.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's other areas, obviously help people on the M&A side of things. I want to continue to sort of expand and develop that, further. As I mentioned, we've got the Perm app that is released in August, as you said last month, if this is going out in September. We've got a TNA add-on that we're currently putting in place, so that will automate hours from clock in all the way through to invoice and payroll.
Okay.
So we have a sort of a mini version of that on our RecRuso Worker app that enables, sort of your ones and twos to check in and check out. We're talking about a large scale offering for some of your supermarkets and your large warehouses where you might have a few hundred or a few thousand people. There's a big issue there with automating that all the way through to paying bill, and we want to be a one-stop provider.
Amazing.
Rather than integrating with everyone else, we want an end-to-end solution that really makes it easy for customers.
I think this is part of the issue, though, isn't it? It's because the introduction of obviously API development and integrations has been great across multiple sort of sectors, but it's almost getting to that point now where we have recruitment agencies that have a fundamentally shit CRM, but because it integrates with this really good tech stack, it's like I kind of have to just stick with the shit.
They keep it, yeah.
And it just seems a bit stupid. Like for me, I always sort of liken that to: would you plug an extension lead into a really bad plug? Like a really nice, expensive power bank lead into the shit plug. No, you wouldn't, right? Just change the plug. And hey, do you know what? The socket that you buy, it might have a couple of USB adapters in there, and a couple. Do you know what I mean? Then it's sort of like that's the thing we need to change. Not just keep adding more.
You're future-proofing it, aren't you? I think people don't buy CRMs today and change them tomorrow, do they? It's generally a long-term investment. A lot of people might say that if it isn't broken, doesn't need fixing. Sometimes people don't know it's broken, though.
Well, this is the point, isn't it? Yeah, we're now in this amazing new world where there's so much out there that you just don't know, and like I do, I learn about new tech all the time. I've just signed up for Dripify's kind of affiliate scheme, so I'll be kind of plugging that in the next week or so, because from a LinkedIn automation perspective, especially within the recruitment sector, that's a phenomenal bit of kit. And I only found out about that 3 weeks ago. I've been in recruitment for nearly 10 years, or over 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, where the fuck was this when I was
Things are
running
just
this?
moving on so quick, aren't they?
All these new bits of like,
Yeah.
amazing stuff, and you'd be daft not to have a look and kind of poke your head out and go, oh, what's that and what's this? So you guys going to be at the Recruitment Expo, which I think would be in a couple of weeks' time from when this goes out?
October,
yeah.
the 9th, I think.
9th and 10th, isn't it?
Yeah, 9th and 10th in Birmingham, we will be there. We've been there for the last few years. It's been a really successful event. We did really well at London in March, and at the NEC last October. So yeah, we'll be there.
Perfect. Cool. Last question for you then. If you could go back to 18-year-old you and give him any advice, what would it be?
Well, probably I couldn't answer that in one question.
Don't have kids.
No, I love my kids. My 18-year-old self.
Would you tell him not to go into business with your old business partner, or would you go, actually, there were lessons learned? That I needed that.
Yeah, I think that lessons learned. I think my dad went into his own business and didn't have a business partner, and it was a lonely place.
Mm-hmm.
Equally, you can go into a relationship and things don't work out. We had some very good times, but obviously, didn't end well. But for many years, the problem shared is the problem halved. So it's a difficult one. I think you're defined by the experiences that you go through, and I think it makes you who you are now. And without going through everything that I've gone through in the last 45 years, you're looking at a different person.
Mm-hmm.
I think from a recruitment perspective, the things that the banks say, make sure that you've not got more than a 30% concentration with one client.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that happens, like it happened with me and with a particular supermarket, they've got a seat at the table and they will dictate, and they'll say jump, you say how high. So, focus on making sure that you've got a nice spread. Be niche if you can, don't be a generalist. I think niche is good. It provides the ability to sort of maintain margins. From a tech perspective, I'd probably tell my 18-year-old self not to buy the CRM that we bought in London that went bust. But again, having
but if you hadn't done that,
exactly,
you wouldn't be sat here today.
Exactly. So it's a really difficult one. Yeah. But as I say a lot, you only get the rule book later in life, don't you?
Yeah.
So 27, 28 years later, learn a lot. Made a lot of mistakes, but hopefully overall made more good decisions than bad.
Yeah. No, cool. I like that. I think that's a good place to finish. All right, well, that's it for another episode of RecTalk. Guys, we drop an episode every Wednesday, so be sure to check out this week and next week's episodes. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and all the rest of it. Because of our audience, we are now officially the largest recruitment podcast in the UK, so thank you very much for that. We'll see you again next week. Mate, appreciate that. This has been good. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Right, and I'll snap it there to cut it. Oh, yeah, it's good.
Enjoyed that.
Now we'll be like, oh shit, we weren't recording.